My name is Sarah. I am 50 years old. I am looking at you right now with long silver hair, clear radiant skin, and a body that I built and protected with my own two hands. I feel absolutely incredible today. I wake up every single morning with endless energy. I completely refuse to ever wear the label of being tired or old. I look in the mirror and see elegant musculature, a sophisticated posture, and a woman who is ready to take on the world. But let me tell you a secret that almost nobody in the wellness space talks about. I used to think I was doing everything perfectly right. I was walking every single day, hitting my step goals, and I truly thought walking was the ultimate magic pill for aging beautifully. I was wrong. I was slowly getting weaker, losing my balance, and I didn't even know it was happening. It was terrifying. If you are also tired of feeling your balance fade and want to learn how I rebuilt my physical foundation from the ground up, hit the subscribe button and leave a like. Let's get stronger together. You see, I understood that my body is my greatest investment at 50, and today I am going to share exactly how I protect that investment. Let me explain exactly how this journey started. You know what surprised me most? It wasn't a sudden injury or a warning from my doctor. It was a completely normal, quiet afternoon in my own house. I live a very productive life here in the U.S. We are always on the go, always achieving, always moving. I was wearing my favorite premium workout gear, feeling pretty good about myself because I had just finished a brisk 3-mile walk through my neighborhood. I walked every single day. I tracked my steps religiously on my watch. I thought I was the absolute picture of modern health. I maintained a sophisticated routine. I ate clean, and I took deep pride in my appearance. But then, I tried to simply stand up from my deep, soft living room sofa. I pushed off with my legs, and for a split second, I wobbled. My right leg just didn't fire the way it used to. I felt a sudden, sharp panic tighten in my chest. I actually had to use my hands to push myself off the armrests the rest of the way up. I sat back down in total disbelief. I felt deeply ashamed. I thought to myself, wait a minute. I am only 50 years old. I am highly active. Why does simply standing up feel like a heavy chore? Honestly, it scared me to my core. I started paying close attention to my body in a new way. I realized my posture was subtly changing. My lower back was aching when I stood at the kitchen counter chopping vegetables for dinner. My elegant, strong, upright posture was slowly slipping away from me. I refused to accept that. I immediately started digging into the real science of aging and performance. I read a detailed 2019 study from the University of Waterloo, and what I found shocked me so much I had to read it twice. The study proved that normal walking only activates about 32% of your gluteus maximus. That is the biggest, most powerful muscle in your entire body. It is the main engine that literally keeps you upright and moving forward. 2/3 of my most important strength muscle was just sleeping. It was completely dormant. I was walking miles and miles every week, but my main engine was turned off. Even worse, the researchers found that people who only relied on walking continued to lose muscle stability and protective strength year after year, even though they thought they were staying active. The people who thought they were being the most careful, people exactly like me, were often the ones losing their functional strength the absolute fastest. It was a massive wake-up call. I realized right then that walking is wonderful, but it is nowhere near enough. Quietly, over time, that is exactly how balance disappears. That is how independence slowly fades away without anyone noticing the exact moment it began. You don't lose your strength all at once. You lose it in tiny, invisible moments. A small wobble here, a missed step there. I completely refused to let that be my story. I decided to take total control. I transformed my home gym routine to focus entirely on the glute muscles. I want to share the 5 movements that saved my posture and my freedom, counting down to the most important one. Let me tell you about the first major change I made. Number 5, step-ups. On the surface, stepping up sounds completely harmless. Most people wouldn't even consider it a real exercise. We step up onto curbs, into buses, and onto our front porches every single day. I didn't think it was a big deal. But let me be very honest with you. It is the ultimate real-life strength test, and I realized I was secretly failing it. I set up a small, low step in my home gym space. It was just a solid wooden box about 8 inches high, nothing intimidating. I placed my whole right foot completely flat on the step. I told myself to press strictly through my heel and lift my body weight up without swinging my arms or using momentum. No jumping allowed, just pure, focused muscle strength. I lightly held onto the wall just in case my balance failed me. When I tried to lift myself the first time, my standing leg literally shook. I felt a deep, warm ache in my glutes, specifically my gluteus medius, those vital side muscles that stabilize the hips. I was shocked. How could something so incredibly simple feel so intensely heavy? But I felt it in my body right away. These were the exact stabilizer muscles I desperately needed to climb stairs without gripping the handrail like my life depended on it. I started doing this just twice a week. I did 2 or 3 sets of 8 repetitions for each leg. I never used heavy weights. I just used my own body weight and deep concentration. I focused on the mind-muscle connection. And you know what happened? Within a few short weeks, the shaking completely stopped. My skin was flushed and glowing from the focused effort, but more importantly, my legs started to feel like solid steel pillars. I read a 2021 study from the University of Florida that found adults over 60 who did step-ups just twice a week improved their single leg strength by 27%. I physically felt that 27% in my daily life. Every single time I stepped onto that wooden box, I wasn't just working out. I was sending a powerful message directly to my nervous system. I was telling my brain, I am still strong. I can still rise. I reclaimed my physical confidence right there on an 8-inch box. Then came number 4, the glute kickbacks. This is the smallest movement with the biggest, most dramatic impact on how you carry yourself. When I first saw a video of someone doing a glute kickback, I actually laughed. It is just a tiny little leg lift behind your body. How effective could it really be? I used to skip it entirely because it looked too gentle. But remember that nagging lower backache I mentioned earlier? This tiny movement completely cured it. Let me explain why. As we get older, one of the first muscle functions we lose is the ability to extend our hips without overusing our lower back. Our brain literally forgets the right firing order. Instead of using your powerful glutes to push your steps, your body gets lazy and compensates. It uses tight hip flexors, overworked hamstrings, and puts terrible strain on the delicate lower back. So every time I took a step on my daily walks, I was actually pulling on my lower back instead of pushing powerfully with my glutes. No wonder I was in pain. I started doing glute kickbacks right at my marble kitchen counter. I would stand there in the morning sunlight, hold the edge lightly for balance, and keep my back totally straight. Then, I would slowly lift one leg straight behind me. I had to focus so intensely not to arch my lower back. I forced the motion to come only from my glute muscle. The first time I squeezed at the very top of the movement, I felt a sharp, deep cramp in my glute. It was a massive revelation. The muscle was finally waking up. I held my leg there for 2 full seconds, feeling the intense burn, and then slowly brought my foot down. I did 12 repetitions on each leg. The pure magic of this movement is that you are retraining your nervous system. You are telling your brain, this is the muscle we want firing first. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy proved that this targeted activation improves walking confidence and balance in just 4 weeks. It was absolutely true for me. My posture completely transformed. I stopped leaning slightly forward. My long silver hair swung down my back differently because I was standing so much taller. My elegant musculature started showing again. Even without any gym equipment, these small lifts restored my upright strength. Now, let's talk about number 3, the glute bridge. I know exactly what you are thinking right now because I thought the exact same thing. Lying down flat on the floor does not feel like a real workout. In our modern culture, we are so conditioned to believe that movement has to be fast, sweaty, and exhausting to be effective. We think if we aren't completely drained, we didn't work hard enough. But let me share a quiet, powerful truth with you. Some of the most important strength building happens when you are flat on your back. I laid down a thick, comfortable yoga mat on my living room floor. I bent my knees, kept my feet flat on the ground, hip-width apart, and rested my arms nicely by my sides. I took a deep breath to center myself. I tightened my glutes as hard as I could and lifted my hips straight up toward the ceiling. I stopped when my body formed a perfect straight line from my shoulders all the way down to my knees. I made sure never to arch my lower back. I held that top position for 3 long seconds. I squeezed my muscles tightly. My legs were trembling slightly. I was sweating, but not from running. I was sweating from pure, concentrated muscle engagement. Then, I lowered my hips down in slow, perfect control. I did 15 repetitions. By the end of the second set, my glutes felt like they were on fire, but it was a healing fire. As we age, we begin relying on our spine to do the heavy lifting our glutes were built for. The glute bridge fixes that dangerous habit. It builds strength in the posterior chain. A clinical trial showed that adults who added glute bridges to their routine experienced a 42% reduction in chronic lower back pain in just 8 weeks. That is a massive change without any medication. Just mindful, intentional movement on my own floor. Sometimes I even placed a block between my knees to stay perfectly aligned. This gentle-looking move taught my body exactly how to support itself from the ground up. Number 2 changed my entire perspective on joint protection. Seated band abductions. This targets the invisible muscle that protects every single step you ever take. When I mention this to my friends, they look at me like I am crazy. "You just sit in a chair and push your knees apart?" they ask. Yes. And honestly, it does more to save your independence than most people ever realize. I bought a simple, light fabric resistance band. I sat in my comfortable home office chair with my feet planted firmly flat on the ground. I slid the band up just above my knees. Then, I slowly and deliberately pressed my knees outward against the tight resistance of the band. I held it at the absolute widest point for 2 seconds, and then slowly returned with total control. It looks like you are doing almost nothing, but the physical sensation is incredibly intense. I felt a deep, isolated burn right on the outside edges of my hips. These are the side glutes, specifically the gluteus medius and minimus. They never get the fitness headlines, but they are your daily lifelines. You see, every time you stand on one leg, even for a microsecond when you shift your weight or take a walking step, these side muscles are what keep your pelvis totally level. If they are weak from sitting at a desk or just from aging, your body starts to wobble side to side. You might not see the tiny hip wobble, but it leads to misalignment in the knees, extra stress on the lower back, and eventually, a much higher fall risk. In fact, a study published in the Aging and Balance Journal found that your ability to press your knees outward was the #1 predictor of fall recovery success in older adults. Let that reality sink in. It wasn't about reflexes. It wasn't about eyesight. The absolute strength of this invisible muscle group mattered most. The slower I moved that resistance band, the harder my glutes worked. Within a month, my walking stride felt totally different. I felt deeply planted. I felt rooted to the earth. Every time I pressed my knees out in that chair, I was strengthening the very muscles that keep me walking tall and standing strong in the world. And finally, we arrive at number 1, the absolute king of all longevity exercises, the Bulgarian split squat. I am going to be completely honest and vulnerable with you. The very first time I heard that name, I rolled my eyes and sighed. It sounds like something a 20-year-old Olympic athlete does in a gritty training camp, not something a sophisticated 50-year-old woman does in her living room. It sounded way too advanced and entirely unnecessary. But I was so incredibly wrong. It is the single most powerful, functional, and real-life glute strengthener most people are never taught, and avoiding it is costing them their independence. Here is what makes it so unique. It forces your gluteus maximus and medius to fire all at once, while demanding perfect balance, core stability, and single-leg control. I remember my very first attempt clearly. I felt intimidated. I stood about 2 feet in front of a sturdy dining room chair. I carefully reached 1 foot back and rested the top of my foot on the seat behind me. Immediately, I felt totally off balance. I quickly grabbed the wall with my hand just to steady my shaking body. I was scared at first, but I refused to give up on myself. I kept my chest lifted high and proud. I slowly bent my front knee, lowering my hips straight down. I only went down a few inches that first time. My front leg was screaming at me. I could feel every single tiny muscle around my ankle and knee shaking violently, trying to sense where my body was in space. I pushed hard through my front heel and forced myself back up to standing. I only did 6 repetitions on each leg, and my heart was pounding. But the feeling of deep accomplishment was massive. This exercise perfectly mimics real life. Walking, turning, reaching, stepping off a curb, all of it requires single-leg control. When we avoid this kind of challenge because it feels too hard, we never give our bodies a chance to rebuild what is slowly fading away. Dr. Andrew Lakach, a brilliant physical therapist, noted that this movement is one of the most effective ways to restore symmetry and rebuild hip strength. The biggest danger isn't the movement itself, it is avoiding it entirely. When you avoid it, you create an imbalance that leads to long-term pain. Over the next few months, I kept practicing my split squats. I stopped needing the wall for balance. I started going deeper and deeper into the movement. My legs transformed. They looked sculpted, elegant, and incredibly strong. I actually taught this to a client in her late 60s who had been completely avoiding stairs for years. She started doing heavily modified split squats. Within 8 weeks, she was climbing a full flight of stairs with no railing. She didn't just gain muscle, she gained massive confidence in her own body again. And that is what this entire journey is really about. I am not chasing youth. I am not trying to look like a teenager. I am reclaiming the absolute strength to stay exactly who I am. Modern medicine is an amazing tool, but it is not perfect. And as we get older, doing more intense, punishing workouts is not always better. Your body does not reward extreme intensity anymore. It strictly rewards consistency. It is not about doing more to exhaust yourself. It is about doing what actually matters. What matters now is building the exact strength that supports the beautiful life you want to live. Getting out of a deep chair without using your arms. Walking confidently across an uneven, grassy park, catching yourself instantly if you happen to slip. These glute exercises aren't just about having a nice shape or good posture. They are about complete and total independence. Walking is wonderful, and I still take my long, elegant walks every single day, but it is only the starting line. True prevention does not magically begin in a sterile doctor's office. It begins right here, when you decide to reconnect with your own body and choose specific movements that rebuild deep physical trust. You already have the wisdom inside of you. You already have the tools. Now you just need the smart movement to match your mindset. I look in the mirror today at my silver hair, my vibrant skin, and my strong, capable shoulders, and I know my legacy is total vitality. I refuse to fade quietly into the background. I want to live fully, travel the world, and carry my own heavy luggage until the very end. Now I would absolutely love to hear from you. Which of these 5 powerful exercises surprised you the most today? Have you ever struggled with balance, sudden back pain, or leg weakness, and slowly realized it wasn't just normal aging after all? I read every single comment, and your personal story might be the exact spark of inspiration someone else desperately needs to read today. I want you to go down to the comments section right now and claim your power. Type these 3 simple words for me: I am strong. If you are part of this growing community where age means gaining strength, not slowing down, we would be honored if you hit the like button, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for more. Because your absolute best chapter does not start in a waiting room. It starts the moment you decide to move. Keep investing in yourself, and I will see you next time.